Now let's see how we can handle errors. So if we click OK, stop this sub, and play it. Now instead of entering a date value, what if the user put in a string value? I'll just put hi, and click OK. We get an error message saying type mismatch. Well, if a user gets prompted with this error, they don't know if they should press end, debug, or help. And we want to make sure that users can easily use our spreadsheets, so we need to add some more code to prevent errors like this. Well, the reason why we got this error is because we declared our DOB variable as a date value, and we entered a string. So let's click end. Well, one of the things that we can do to prevent this error is change how we declare our variable. So that way the users can enter a date value or a string value. So if we change DOB as date to variant, now the input box can accept any type of value. So if we click play and we enter hi and click OK, we still get that type mismatch error. But this time let's click debug to see which line of code is breaking. So the line that calculates the age is not working. And the reason why is that if we hover over the DOB variable, the value for that variable is high, and we can't take the year of a string of text. So now we need to put code in place to only allow users to enter date values. And we can do that by writing a if statement. So let's stop this sub. And right after we insert a value into our input box, we need to put the if statement. So we can put if, and we need to tell Excel to check the DOB value to see if it's a date value. And one of the ways is using another VBA function, which is called isDate. And within this function, we can put in our DOB variable. So let's type open parentheses, DOB, close parentheses. And this will check to see if the DOB value is a date. So if DOB is date, then calculate the age, and then show the message box. But if it's not a date value, we need to tell the user what format to enter the value in. So if our DOB value is date, then do this, else message box, and have it say, please enter a value in date format. Then end if. So now if we run this sub and we type in a string, click OK. Now we get a message box saying, please enter a value in date format instead of an error. And if we click OK, the sub ends because that's our last line of code, and we would have to run this sub again. Well, this would be a good time to automatically restart the sub procedure so the user can enter the value in the correct format. So one of the ways to do this to restart a sub is to define a point where you want to restart this sub, which is right before the input box. So right before this line, you can type in whatever you want, but I'm going to type in start, and then we have to put a colon. So right after the message box, please enter a value in date format, we need to tell Excel to go back to our starting point. So we can put a new line and type in go to start. So now if we run our sub and type in a string of text, click OK, we get our message box saying please enter a value in date format. And this time, once we click OK, it will come back to this starting point and restart the sub. And then we can put in our date value. And since this time our value was a date, it will calculate our age and then prompt us with the message box saying you are 24 years young. And one more tip that I want to share with you is that sometimes pressing F8 to step through your code can be time consuming, especially if you have a lot of lines in your code. And if you are trying to see what values your variables are storing at the end of your code, instead of stepping all the way down, you can add a stop to make your code run all the way until that stop. Let me show you. If we click OK, and let's say that we want to stop at the beginning of the if statement. So if we come over to the if line and right to the left inside this column, we can give this a click and it adds a red circle and highlights that line red. So this is where the code will stop. So if we click play, we can enter our date value, and then our sub stops, and then we can start stepping through our code from this starting point. So if we press F8, we can see what our code is doing, and this way we didn't have to keep on pressing F8 to get to this point, which can save us a lot of time. So this is a few ways on how you can debug your code and how we have control over user inputs to prevent any errors. So hopefully using these tools will help you understand on how your code is performing and open up the idea of how utilizing VBA can make your Excel spreadsheets a lot more user-friendly.